Everything great about Coco is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a domain, website, online store, look no further than Squarespace. Coco mariachi-style Disney musical intro. That's a new one. And backstories on Papel Picado with 2D animation. I'm always a fan of different types of imagery for different sections of a story. Maybe some of the beats are cliche, but it's just an excellent example of good storytelling. The way he walks through Imelda as if she's invisible compared to the adoring crowd. And the way the rain picks up as he leaves for good. And not to mention it hides his identity since no one in the family really knows who he was after all this time. He's just a warning story.
How are you, Julio?
Actually, my name is Miguel.
Julio is my dad, but technically I don't know that yet. Come on, I needed at least one Y tu mamá también joke.
Mama Coco has trouble remembering things.
Twist! The great-grandmother was the main character the whole time. I jest. I do actually love that it's her and her father's relationship that's at the center of the story, even if Miguel is our main character. Haha, now that's a great bisabuela. What? I'm learning Spanish. And no music montage is the fastest way to get a Pizza Planet truck.
No music!
So, we're a few minutes into a Pixar movie, and let's talk about the detail of the wooden benches, the gouges and discolorations all over the wood from generations of use, the realistic lighting and shadows outside in shallow focus, the textures of the cobblestones, the peach fuzz on his cheek. Pixar never ceases to amaze. Hey, it's Pepita.
Remember me, though I have to travel far, remember me.
And there you have it, 5 minutes in and the theme of the entire film in song, just not how it's presented here. Preemptive comeuppance? But also I love how different the initial tone of this song is coming from De La Cruz rather than Hector.
Crushed by a giant bell. I want to be just like him.
Life goals, actually death goals. Because of course a shoemaker would treat a sandal like a revolver. I guess we can start getting used to two parents alive. It only takes years of incessantly pointing something out to make a change. Noted.
Dia de los Muertos is the one night of the year our ancestors can come visit us. We've put their photos on the ofrenda so their spirits can cross over.
Punish Mexposition. That had a Mexican feel to it, but really it's just punishment plus exposition.
It's okay. I'm here. Who are you?
Whew. Pixar even trying to make dementia sweet and comical. Man, now this is resourcefulness and ingenuity with a screws for tuner's guitar. Can only imagine what the strings are made of. Okay, that's a real C chord. Color me impressed. Wow, so this puts all those celebrity shrines humans make into a new interesting light, as if each one's its own ofrenda. Again, chords are real. I can't remember if I've ever seen this in an animated film before. Ugh, the detail on the fretboard, the vibrations in the strings.
Don't ask permission. When you see your moment, you mustn't let it pass you by. You must seize it.
Alright, time to break out the old classical. Oh, wait, I only have a steel string guitar. Someone send me a classical, and teach me to play like Miguel. Wouldn't be a CinemaWins video about an animated film without me mentioning the TV screen and candlelight reflected in his eyes.
No one was going to hand it to me. It was up to me to reach for that dream. Grab it tight.
You know, with poison.
I'm gonna play in Mariachi Plaza if it kills me.
Ha! Death shadowing. Well, pseudo death shadowing.
En la Rivera is...
A shoemaker, through and through.
You could say it's in his soul. Sorry, shoe puns are just too easy a feat. Sorry, I know he doesn't want to be tied to the industry. Laced?
That man was Ernesto de la Cruz, the greatest musician of all time.
We've never known anything about this man.
It's really not a stretch, since Abuelita said,
Never mention that man. He's better off forgotten.
which, side note, knowing what that actually results in now is super harsh. But since Imelda, no one has been allowed to even talk about him. So, sure, he could be a famous musician. All the more reason to not talk about him. Harsh, I know. But when you really think about it, not only was she trying to honor Mama Imelda's wishes, for all intents and purposes, she's right. Miguel should not try to follow in De La Cruz's footsteps, or his obsession with fame. Beanie skills. Just for the record, just because the teaser frame was pixelized doesn't mean it's pixels. I might use that tactic again. Use a more obvious frame, but pixelated? Thoughts? Too difficult? I should get used to people guessing pixels. I like the transition from the land of the living to the land of the dead. All the time spent with the living is daytime, right up until Miguel reveals his big music secret at around sunset, and then it's dark when he steals the guitar and shifts to the land of the dead. Then all the land of the dead is at nighttime. Okay, so before we get into the land of the dead, which is stunning, I really grew to love the aesthetic in the land of the living. Faces are constantly lit by candlelight from below, and everything has this warm, lively glow to it, pun intentional. Now that Miguel has crossed over, he's emitting his own orange glow. So apparently the rules that apply to snakes, wolves, and spiders apply to skeletons. More afraid of you than you are of them. Okay, glowing flower petal bridges are for sure a win. Pixar animators must have the craziest dreams. Both the bridge and the sprawling vertical Land of the Dead city are really some of the prettiest images I've seen in ever. I always talk about the work and care, but goodness gracious, just the color palette makes me smile. And Michael Giacchino kills it again with this score, blending traditional Mexican tones with a swelling Hollywood composition.
Your photos are your dentist's ofrenda.
So, Mexican John Ratzenberger goes to Australia for his orthodontics work?
Hola.
Ha, because he's jaw-dropping. I get it. Rivera's are always using their shoes as weapons.
You just look like a plain old dog or a sausage someone dropped in a barber shop.
A vivid characterization win.
And to never play music again.
What?
Determination for predictability. Consistency?
Falsifying a unibrow?
That's illegal?
Very illegal.
Yeah, it's like falsifying a mole in American culture, or a scar in lion culture. There really just aren't that many cultural phenomena with as distinctive feature as Frida's.
Espérame, chamaco!
So, an out-of-the-box win for this movie is teaching me some Spanish. Esperame, chamaco. Wait for me, kid. Biggest upset of the movie was that my wife didn't fall in love with Dante as quickly as I'd expected. She did, however, immediately request a fire-breathing monkey.
They are as mysterious as they are powerful.
Also, so he's like Godzilla Kong?
In whose spirit have you guided to me?
I don't think he's a spirit guide.
The alebrijes of this world can take many forms.
Also, if Frida Kahlo tells you your dog is a spirit guide, your dog is a spirit guide. Does that make anyone else extremely uncomfortable?
And they go to drink from the milk of their mother, who is a cactus. Paco's also me.
Spoke too soon.
Is it too obvious?
I think it's just the right amount of obvious.
Reassurance. Appropriate reaction.
I brought you a little offering.
Get out of here. I would, Cheech.
That's weird because this guy is Cheech.
I want to visit my living family.
This is Admiral Adama, Travis's professor.
And her knuckles they drag on the floor.
Those aren't the words.
Children present.
Self-censoring. But also, I'm gonna call this a cliche dodge. Not giving us a sappy goodbye song, instead using something like a bar sing-along song. Still short, sweet, and beautiful. I can get behind this. Not a musical, but containing music. So that's a live-action photo. I don't care what you say. Also, poison shadowing. Because one hasn't been drunk. Even the Land of the Dead is excited for Incredibles 2. Scapula. Punk rock skeleton puns. Happy to see Sid found his calling in the afterlife. You know what they say, if you can just connect with one person. Encouragement. So in researching the music for this film, I basically learned that a whole lot of people were involved. This song, for instance, was written by co-director / screenwriter Adrian Molina with Jermaine Franco. And most everything was created in cooperation with Giacchino, who, as you know, is the man. And then they consulted with Mexican musicians and experts and researched all kinds of different Mexican music from the traditional to the modern. Point is, holy cow, did they do the soundtrack right. And Anthony Gonzalez's voice is killer. So at this point, my wife was still unsure. But come on, I love me some Dante.
Making
The liberties you're taking leaves my guts shaking.
And what a song!
It's not stupid.
I'm taking you to your family.
Let go of me.
You'll thank me later.
You don't want to help me. You only care about yourself.
It's amazing how they paint his desire as so selfish before the real reason Hector wants to return is revealed. I just realized Imelda is wearing a choker necklace on her spine. Hey, the Saint! He was like the Hulk Hogan of Mexico in the 1930s and 40s. I knew there were easier ways to take selfies.
To be here with you tonight brings me joy, que alegría.
I mean, if anyone had ever let this kid play, they would have immediately had dollar signs blinking in their eyes. Another beautiful song. One of those tricky moments that endears us to De La Cruz, but of course he's going to be the hero in public. So now apparently we're going to be adopting some quadruplet Chihuahua Alabrejas. Just the hair bouncing on De La Cruz's forehead.
Like in the movie?
What?
That's Don Hidalgo's toast. In the De La Cruz movie, El Camino a Casa.
I'm talking about my real life, Miguel.
I would move heaven and earth for you, mi amigo.
But in the movie, Don Hidalgo poisons the drink.
It's actually hilarious and consistent with De La Cruz's character that not only does he steal all his songs, he also steals and twists stories from his real life.
No, everyone knows you're the good guy.
Sucking at lying. I swear I've played this level in a Tomb Raider game.
My Coco.
Listen, Hector. Conan O'Brien belongs to all of us, not just you.
We're family?
Aw, what a sweet moment. A little shy smile on both their faces. There's always at least one thing that sticks out to me and puts me in awe in Pixar movies, and this time it was the ridiculous detail on the edges of Hector's finger bones. Not to mention the bumps on the surface of the picture close-up.
Though I have to travel far, remember me.
Ugh, now we're shown the difference between De La Cruz's version that's all about notoriety while Hector's is about his daughter.
Until you're in my arms again.
Oh, man.
Dante!
Dante to the rescue!
Hector.
You look good.
Compliments. And this is the moment that Dante became a wife win. Air doggy paddle. Well, if there's one thing this movie has taught me, it's that anyone can be Frida Kahlo.
That's for murdering the love of my life.
I'm the love of your life.
I don't know. I'm still angry at you.
Introspection. Dante saves the day again. Dance fighting.
Too hard to let him destroy everything.
He's a living child, Ernesto.
He's a threat.
Broadcast teamwork.
I am the one who's willing to do what it takes to seize my moment. Whatever it takes.
Gotta say, having Ernesto Jamie Lannister Miguel off a building is a good way to solidify his fate. Dante to the rescue. Oh, never mind. Poetic comeuppance. Also a perfect representation of why having family is better than having fans. Fans turn on you in an instant after throwing one kid off a building. Sheesh. I like to think you guys would stand behind me.
Go home.
Choke me up, self-sacrifice. I love that he follows the petals home just like his mama said.
We have to make a clear path. The petals guide our ancestors home.
Mama Coco, please, don't forget him.
While this heart-wrenching scene is scaring us all on an existential level, you might be thinking, but Miguel is in the land of the living now, why doesn't that count? Well, Hector says this earlier.
Our memories, they have to be passed down by those who knew us in life.
And only Coco knew Hector when he was alive. Well, that's the third time I've seen that, and it gets me every time. And I don't think it ever won't. Music, the thing outlawed in the family, is the thing that brings the light back into Coco's eyes. Ugh. Oh man, come on, Pixar, take it easy on us. Relief. And if you're feeling all sympathetic even for the murderer, just remember that even infamous people are remembered. Wait, did I? Is that a, I made it worse. Reconciliation.
Coco.
When I opened my mouth, what came out was in every beat of my ground. What I saw.
One last Spanish translation just in case the context wasn't clear. Corazon means heart. Ghost duet. We all have our different beliefs about the afterlife, so you'd think this would be a controversial subject for Pixar and Disney to tackle, but I think they handle it well. Honestly, after the first trailer when I realized all the dead people are going to be skeletons, I was surprised, but they made it work. Anyway, regardless of your belief about what happens after death, the message of this film should be universal. The second death is something everyone wants to avoid, and it's just as important for the living as it is the dead. Remembering our loved ones allows them to live on so that we can learn from their successes as well as their mistakes. It helps us continue building healthy relationships with those we love. More importantly, Coco eschews a typical children's message of follow your dreams, or be who you want to be, or even seize your moment, and instead says sometimes there are more important things.
We each made a sacrifice to get what we wanted.
I realize Miguel ends up having his cake and eating it too, but the fact that he was willing to give up music to save Hector speaks volumes.
You will return home. No more music.
Family comes first.
Even Moana technically chose the heart of the ocean quest over her family. Miguel is ready to never play music again for his family. Once he's able to connect the importance of music with his family and ends up using music to help stir Coco's memory, it becomes about something entirely different than his De La Cruz fantasy. It's not the most complex twist that Hector was Miguel's family all along, but they really don't cheat. I pointed out a lot of things that you can take both ways throughout.
Well, what are you gonna play?
Definitely remember me.
No, not that one.
It's also telling that during the entire Land of the Dead part of this movie, De La Cruz isn't even attempting to cross over to living. He's planning the show, throwing parties, rubbing elbows with the famous, because whether he has a family or not, fame, status, and admiration were always more important to him. Whereas Hector has just been trying to get home to see the one remaining family member who remembers him. And let's talk about the conclusion to the movie. No big blue beam to space to stop. The Land of the Dead wasn't going to stop existing, nor were the dead going to take over the Land of the Living. De La Cruz didn't have some sinister be reborn plan. No, this story was about one man wanting to be remembered by his daughter after his life was taken from him, and his great-grandson's journey to truly understand the importance of family. And this scene sticks with you on so many levels. Gonna choke me up again. In general Pixar fashion, they didn't skimp on the Easter eggs and references to other Disney and Pixar films. Nemo gets his own Ella Breja, Woody and Buzz get pinata'd, A113 on the glass, and a few others sprinkled throughout. I also love that most of the technology in the Land of the Dead is, well, dead technology. Old phones, old computers, and calculators. Then there are the skulls. Skulls everywhere. Light bulbs, windows, on the mansion, in the chairs, in the fireworks. I love how your arms can be used as a bow and arrow or nunchucks. Or how you can take shortcuts sometimes and easily put yourself back together. I love that even before we know who Hector is, Dante is trying to get Miguel to stay with his great-great-grandfather since he was a spirit animal all along. And you realize the only reason Miguel runs into Hector is because of Dante. And it all even makes more sense once you realize he's named after De La Cruz's horse. Just in general, that the animals can move back and forth between the two worlds and they see things we don't see. Creepy and reassuring all at the same time. You know what I'm talking about. I know my dog has ESP when it comes to gauging people. I already brought it up, but man is this film stunning. The towering city of the Land of the Dead is like nothing else. A new level of beauty even for Pixar. Ugh, Giacchino's score in this scene. Then, while the humor isn't the main driving force, there's still plenty of laugh out loud moments.
But Dante doesn't have any hair.
And I don't have a nose, and yet here we are.
After watching Narcos, my wife and I say mira mira constantly to each other. But now I know about screaming,
Grito.
Come on, yell.
little boy,
Are you all right, niño?
little crazy.
Poco loco.
You're not so bad yourself, gordito.
Okay, that's just a Taco Bell menu item. Mostly we just catch each other speaking fake Spanish to ourselves. And so while I was happy to learn Spanish words, I was really happy to learn about Mexican culture through this movie and then all the obligatory research I did to make sure it was actually accurate. It seems like they did a pretty good job in honoring Mexican traditions. Between the papel picado, the glasses of water on the ofrendas for weary travelers, or just that Dante is a Xolo dog like Frida's favorite. Obviously I'm no expert, but I feel more informed, and honestly inspired to connect more with my family and make sure that our ancestors' memories are passed down. While the conflict in this story is stressful, there is a really easy way to forever fix Hector's lost picture problem. Miguel just needs to make a permanent ofrenda of sorts with all his family's pictures on it. Something like, I don't know, RiveraOfrenda7.com? Then he can just upload all his family pictures and put a tablet up on the altar. Okay, maybe that's not how it works, but if you need to make a website for something similar, look no further than Squarespace. I am just killing these ad segues. But if you are looking to make a new website, Squarespace is your all-in-one place to do it. Nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Already own a domain collecting dust somewhere else? Squarespace makes it super easy to transfer over. I know, I did it. It was really easy. Then you get access to their 24/7 customer support and amazing customizable templates to build your own unique site. Start an online store, showcase your art, or again, it's time to start that CinemaWins appreciation blog you've been putting off. So check out squarespace.com/CinemaWins for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use offer code CinemaWins to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Links in the description.